Peace and love, nobles. It's still Matt D official time. Just getting ready. Just decided to pull out my uniform. Had to pull it out of the box. Haven't gotten a chance to put it to use yet, but one day I sure would like to get a chance to put it to use and see a lot of our nobles get ready for it. And I've actually designed this Moorish American uniform 2 years ago. So my tailor actually tailor-made it for me. It's got silk stripes. And it's one of a kind. And Noble Drew Ali. And this is just part of the plan that I have for the Moorish Americans, just a piece of it. And you'll always go out of your way to push things ahead and to move things further towards your goal when you're serious, right? You can always tell the serious people because they do more than what is just asked of them to do, right? You could always tell who the champions are because they always strive to do more. I'd like to use rest in peace Kobe Bryant as an example. He was always in practice hours before everyone else came to practice, right? Those are the high achievers, are the ones that are actually that actually do more than what someone else is telling them that they should do, right? That's what we need in today's time. We need overachievers. We don't need underachievers. We need overachievers. We need people that really want the trophy, man. You know? Nobody asked me to do this. Nobody asked me to design a Moorish American uniform. Right? I did this on my own. Right? Paid for the fabric. I did it all on my own. I designed it myself. And had my tailor to make it. Right? For the Moors. And I would start putting these in production once that I know that the Moorish men are ready. But the problem is that they're not ready yet. Right? They're just not ready. They're just moving too slow. Right? And it doesn't matter. It matters what you call yourself. It matters that you claim your nationality, right? Claiming your nationality and having, connecting yourself to the family of nations is meaningful, right? But it's not the end. It's not the end all. It's just to claim your nationality and walk around and just say, I'm Moorish American. And that because at the end of the day, it's all about an economic plan. Right? Noble Drew Ali had an economic plan. Elijah Muhammad also had an economic plan. Elijah Muhammad being the most successful one that we've ever seen in our community with an economic plan. Right? Without an economic program, it doesn't matter if you claim to be a Moor, if you claim to be Moorish American, you're absolutely nothing, right? If you don't have an economic program to take care of your own communities, right? You have these people that are going around asking for donations. And you have some of these organizations that have been around for decades, begging with their hands out for donations, right? And these dumbass people don't even have enough sense, with all of their so-called woke knowledge and stuff, to first open up a damn bank. What happens if the people did decide to donate, as many people have been donating to them, all of this money to the churches, to the mosques? What happens? The churches and the mosques, they take your donation money and they go put it in the so-called white man's bank. Then the white man, he does what? The so-called white man, he allows the so-called white contractors to take out loans on your money to go in and gentrify your community and start building condos and stuff that you can't afford to live in. This is how stupid the people are. Right? If someone is asking you for a donation, and these organizations are asking you for a donation, the first question you should ask them, do you have a bank? Because if you don't have a bank, who's going to get access to that money? How is it going to benefit our people if you don't even have a bank? How can you be a nation without a bank? This is what the Moorish Americans should also be thinking when they're talking about nationality. Right? They're just not taking these things, they're not taking the work serious. They think that this is just some play stuff and it's all about what I call myself, and I got to look clean in my fez, and you know what I mean? And haha, look at them. They're still in black status and all of that. But you can go back in history and see what some of our people did in black status. See what they did in black status during the times of Elijah Muhammad. If they would have been able to keep going, it really wouldn't have made any difference whether you proclaim, whether you wear your nationality out there or not, because that's just how productive they were with their economic plan. Right? And I've done what I can. I make the documents. I do the things that I can. And I have set up Sharif merchants so that we can develop an economic program to bring all of us together. But there are so many factions of people, including Moorish Americans, that boycott me. And I'm the man that really has the resources. You see this fine fabric here? Right? You see this quality wool? This is the best stuff on the market. Right? You see this silk? I got plenty of it. I get the best stuff on the market. Right? You know how much a suit like this would cost you in America with this kind of wool? Right? I got tons of it. I have access to tons of this kind of stuff. Right? That people could actually use to market and to get our community together back home. You have so many of our people in these organizations, these churches and these mosques that they all wear suits. But damn it, they still don't own a dry cleaners yet. Isn't that a shame? And when you really look at it, people just look at our community and just laugh at us. Especially when they come talking all of the woke talk as if they have already arrived. And they don't even own a simple dry cleaners, but yet thousands of them are in a congregation and they're all wearing suits. Right? This is a problem. Right? It is a problem. And I am very fortunate that when I was a little boy, I at least got a chance to see some of the economic program in action in our community, right? As I am from Illinois, and the Nation of Islam's headquarters is there and was there during the time, but I mean, there was things that was going on back in the 70s that hasn't been seen since. And if you go here, let me show you an example. And this is for all of my people, all of my nobles that are nationalized Moorish Americans that think that it's just about what you call yourself, right? You can call yourself an ant or a fly, and it doesn't matter if you got the most powerful economic program, right? That sets things the world apart when you stop taking money and putting it in somebody else's hands and somebody else's bank account. That in itself is power, right? Outside of the fact of law, that in itself is a source of power, because no matter what you call yourself, or no matter how much law you have supporting yourself, you still have to eat. You still have to have clothing. You have to have food and shelter, right? So now, when you look at this, and I'm going to show you something, you can go here and just do this for study. This is pretty impressive, people. I don't know if many of you all, especially a lot of the really young people, know about Elijah Muhammad's economic program. He had a 3-year economic program that has so many of our communities around the nation exploding, right? So this is from 1934 to 1975, but really, he really got started with the economics really hitting hard in the 60s, right? So look, this is just a piece of it, just to show you. The 3-year economic plan required NOI members who could afford to do so to pledge 1/10 to 1/3 of their income to economic development. Now, meaning that they weren't put under any pressure. It's if they could afford to do it. Members were also required to patronize NOI-owned businesses or to open their own economic enterprises, which would be advertised in Muhammad Speaks, the NOI's official newspaper. Right? This is called working together. Right? And why would you patronize NOI? Why did they patronize NOI businesses? Because it would be hypocritical not to do so. Just like it's hypocritical for Moorish Americans to not patronize my business when I'm sitting on mountains of resources over here. Right? It's hypocritical. That's all it is. So now, with a peak membership of 70,000 by the early 60s, the NOI's 3-year economic plan used the collective savings of the members to expand and concentrate black capital to develop both organized owned, individual member owned businesses. So they even use capital to create individually member owned businesses, meaning private businesses. These businesses in turn promoted the NOI's goal of an independent, self-contained, and black controlled economy. In Chicago alone, the NOI organized 15 different businesses, including Your Supermarket, Shabazz Grocery, Chicago Lamb Packer, Shabazz Bakery, Good Food, Shabazz Restaurant, Salam Restaurant, Shabazz Barbershop, and a clothing factory. Not a clothing store, a clothing factory. Across the U.S., NOI businesses by 1970 included grocery stores, dress shops, dry cleaners, bakeries, and restaurants, which provided food, cooked meals, clothing to both Muslims and non-Muslims at affordable prices. What do the Moorish Americans have right now? See, they think because they claim their nationality, that that's what makes them better. Because they claim their nationality, that they're so much better. Right? But you can be a crayon with an economic program and be in a better position than somebody that has a nationality. Just because you claim your nationality doesn't make you better. If you still have to go to the oppressor for resources to take care of yourself, your family, and your community. Right? In the mid-1960s, the NOI purchased and developed farms in Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia that provided fresh meat and vegetables for its growing number of urban supermarkets. Now, I remind you, this is not the NOI's website that's saying this. This is just some reporter that's just reporting this. This ain't the NOI that's saying this. You can find this in a lot of different areas of journalists just reporting on what the Nation of Islam was doing at that time under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Today it's a different Nation of Islam. Today it's some personality worshiping and, they're weak and they only pay attention to protecting rappers and stuff. And, the rappers, they don't come back in the community and do anything. They're interested in being an entourage for rappers and stuff. And, the dope dealers and, the people strung out that's across the street from the mosque. They don't get much attention from the Muslims today. Right? Because the Muslims are too busy trying to protect rappers that are going out here, calling our women bitches and hoes and everything else. The NOI cares more about those people today. They don't care about this work that you see that's going on right now. What the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. They have gotten weak. Right? They are weak. You see? But had they focused more on the economic program instead of personality worshiping the minister, there would have been a lot of things done. Right? And our people would have had an example of doing for self. Elijah Muhammad was not a talker. He was a doer. That's why I respect Elijah Muhammad. I know a lot of Moorish Americans don't respect the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Because he used the word black. But so what, right? He produced an economic program that allowed our people to be able to eat and take care of themselves. So you have to give credit where credit is due, right? So listen, despite opposition from local whites in the South, including Ku Klux Klan members who poisoned or shot cattle and attempted to sabotage crops, these NOI farms provided meat and produce delivered by a fleet, not one, not two, a fleet of NOI trucks and at one point an airplane to NOI stores. How many airplanes do Moorish Americans have right now? How many trucks do we have? How many stores? Right? As such, the NOI had created the first black-owned national food production and distribution network, a long-standing dream of black nationalist organization. NOI businesses also offered a wide variety of employment opportunities for inner city residents, including serving as managers, clerks, secretaries, bakers, cooks, butchers, waiters, accountants, mathematicians, technicians, plumbers, and carpenters. Muslims and non-Muslims were employed in NOI businesses. Listen, Muslims and non-Muslims were employed in NOI businesses. So what does that mean, Moorish American? Some of your people that's in black status, you can hire them. You can let some of the nationality rub off on them. Don't forget where you came from, right? Because in NOI businesses, which I have witnessed myself in the NOI, when I was in Chicago, they hire non-Muslims also to work in some of the businesses. right? In 1958, for example, the NOI operated a dry cleaning plant. Not a dry cleaner store, a dry cleaning plant located at 608 East 63rd Street in Chicago. The plant was managed by Herbert Muhammad, one of Elijah Muhammad's sons, and directly employed 5 NOI members full time. I actually got a chance to meet Herbert Muhammad, right? I know who he is. Now, although the plant had 2 NOI delivery trucks, non-NOI members were also were employed, often using their own vehicles to assist in the pickup and the delivery. What does that tell you right there? Even though they're not part of that organization, they were willing to use their own property to help the organization. Why? Because they were doing something. They saw a benefit in what the NOI was doing. So even though they at that time probably weren't a registered member, they're like, how can we not help them? They're helping to build a community. This is the way some of these people that are still in black status are going to be doing when they see Moorish Americans finally get up and start doing something. Right? The problem is that there's too much talking and not enough work going on. Right? Often use their own vehicles to assist in the delivery, pickup, dry cleaning in exchange for 35% commission on merchandise collected from and distributed to customers. They had an economic program. While Muhammad Speaks was officially the newspaper of the NOI from 1960 to 1975. Who knows who set up the Muhammad Speaks newspaper? Who set up the Muhammad Speaks newspaper? The biggest selling so-called black newspaper in all of America. Who set that up? Who started it? Does anyone know? Right? The one that they call Malcolm X started Muhammad Speaks. Right? Now, it was also one of the organization's most profitable enterprises. He started the nation's most profitable enterprise. Right? The newspaper grew rapidly because the national network of male NOI members who distributed it. So all of the men distributed the newspaper. They all worked together. By 1969, the NOI produced the paper with an all-black printing crew in one of its buildings on a printing press capable of turning out 50,000 copies per hour. What did they do with Noble Drew Ali's printing press? They destroyed his printing press. The Moorish Americans, the Moorish Science Temple of America. Where's their printing press today? Right? You could always tell when COINTELPRO is a part of it because there's no damn production going on, is there? Right? Where's the work? What happened to Noble Drew Ali's printing press? Right? Listen, Elijah Muhammad was turning out 50,000 copies per hour. You see that? Right? You have to ask yourself, okay, the Moorish Americans have law and nationality, but what about the economic plan? This makes nationals look lazy compared to what they were doing. By the end of 1969, 400,000 copies of Muhammad Speaks were printed per week. Almost 500,000 copies were printed every single week by the end of 1969. What are the Moorish Americans doing? Nothing but talking and scrolling on Instagram. Right? And still going to colonizers' grocery stores. Not trying to come up with no economic program, not even meeting together.